Here we are on number 3 in the current leeway section of your book, page 35. It says your position is 3 miles due east of Montauk Point Light. It's a spot we've plotted before in the past. I already had a mark there. Okay. It says what is the course to arrive 1 mile due south of Block Island Southeast Point Light, also a place we've charted in previous problems, so I've got a mark there already. It says if you're turning 8.6 knots, the current is 130 degrees true at 1.2 knots, and a northerly wind is causing 3 degrees of leeway. So again, they're asking, how do I get from this place to this place, okay, compensating for a northerly wind, okay, northerly wind, which is going to push me south, okay, and a current that's running at 130 degrees, that's also kind of south, okay, compensating for those two things that are going to push me off my intended course. If I simply tried to steer a straight line from one point to the other, I would be right down here rather than at my destination. So in reality, I'm probably going to have to steer sort of a northerly course because the wind and current are pushing me to the southeast. So let's go ahead and put that down on paper. So whenever I do a current leeway problem, I write the word speed, current, and leeway on a piece of paper, and I take these things from the problem. So it says my speed is 8.6 knots. It says my current is 130 degrees at 1.2 knots. Okay, that's the speed of the current. And the leeway is northerly wind, so I'm going to say north 3 degrees. We always steer into the wind, so we're going to steer north. So now that I've got that recorded, let's go ahead and look at the problem. So again, we're going from this point to this point, which I've already taken the liberty of plotting on the chart. In reality, they were already there. So I'm going from here to there. So I'm going to put my parallel rule on the two places, and I'm going to draw that line. Okay, so here I'm going to just draw that line. And then I'm going to determine where I should be on that line. If I was traveling 8.6 nautical miles per hour, where would I be in 1 hour? That's my DR. I would be 8.6 miles up that line. So I'm going to find 8.6. My dividers won't go to 8.6, but they'll do 4.3 twice. So I'm going to put this on 4.3. And I'm just going to walk it just to be sure that I end up on 8.6. And there I am, 8.6, so I know I'm good. It's a good thing to just double check yourself. And now that I am on my mark, okay, my starting point, and I find my line, and I walk it off, and I mark that spot. Okay, and if you draw a half circle around it, that indicates that that is a DR, a dead reckoning position. That's where I should be if I'm traveling at a constant speed and a constant direction for a fixed amount of time. I'm using 1 hour. Okay, so now that I've done that, I've got to draw the current. So it says the current is 130 degrees at 1.2 knots. So I'm going to find 130 degrees. It's right over here. And then I'm going to walk that over here to my starting point and draw that on the chart. So 130. Okay. 130. Okay, there's my 130. I'll walk that over here to my starting point. And I'm going to draw a line in the direction from my starting point in the direction of 130. So 130 is that way, it's kind of south. Okay, so I'm going to draw a line 130 from my starting point. So here's my starting point, here's where I should be in an hour, here's the direction the current would push me. So I'm going to again use 1 hour. There's no mention of time in these problems. So the speed of the current is 1.2, so I'm going to use 1.2 to determine how far I would drift in that line in an hour. So again, I just come over here to my starting point and I mark 1 hour. Okay. Now I compensate. I find out what the direction is from the mark I just made, the 1 hour mark, to my DR. Okay. And I'm going to walk this up to the compass rose, and I'm going to read that heading, that course, okay, which looks like it's about 63 degrees, okay, so 63 degrees, I'm going to write that down, okay, 63 degrees, and there's a northerly wind pushing me 3 degrees of my intended course. That's pushing me south by 3 degrees. I don't want to go south. I'm trying to get to this destination. So if there's a northerly wind, okay, pushing me to the south, how can I compensate for it? By steering into the wind. So instead of steering 63 degrees, I'm going to go 3 degrees in that direction. So minus 3 degrees is 60. So this is problem number 3. I'm looking for an answer that's pretty close to 60. Here it is. Okay, so problem number 1, you should have A as your answer. And again, if you're off by 1 degree, maybe even 2 degrees, you should still be able to come up with the right answer. If you're solidly in between 2 answers, you might want to double check, make sure that you drew your lines properly, that you didn't slip as you're walking the parallel rulers, and then you should be good.